Wow. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Okay. This morning I was on a run, which I tend to do now. Who would have thought? George running. I used to be very big into lifting. Now I'm just really into running. It's crazy. Trent, we're revolving, ladies and gentlemen. We're evolving. I had this thought that I just couldn't get off of my mind, and it was about a great movie, Forrest Gump. We'll talk about how I feel about Forrest Gump after. But Forrest Gump, right? Forrest Gump is a gentleman with a very low IQ. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, like a 69 or like a 59, something like that. Very, very tiny, very small, very low IQ number. So you may think, okay, somebody with a low IQ isn't capable or competent enough to do big, big things, right? But as we tend to find out, he goes to the army, he becomes a ping pong champion, he is a spokesperson, he does all kinds of great things, right? He owns a little bit of share of Apple. What else? He helps people with ideas so they can figure out like what businesses they can run. It ends up being the biggest businesses ever, right? Essentially, what the director is trying to convey is that even if you're even the dumbest quote unquote are even the dumbest people are capable and competent enough to make a difference, make a change, or make an impact in their world. It doesn't matter the skills you possess, it doesn't matter the talents that you have or how intelligent you are, but what you're able to do and how hard you're willing to work. That's the thing, right? Like Forrest Gump is always the first person inside of the hole the moment it blows up. Forrest Gump is the first person to run. Forrest Gump is the first person to act on compulsion, right? Jenny, when he sees Jenny getting touched by or groped by another man or getting kissed by another man inside of a car, his first reaction is to go punch and protect, right? Like that's his first instinct is to just protect, provide, or fight, right? That's his first initial instinct. One of the things that's been on my head though, like first thing this morning, was the scene when Jenny leaves him. Jenny comes back for a weekend. She sleeps with Forrest Gump, and then next thing you know, Forrest Gump wakes up and Jenny's gone. Right? That's the first thing that happens. And the scene that I just can't seem to get out of my head is Forrest Gump is on his porch, and immediately he gets up off his porch, and in the background, in his narration of his own story, he says, I just kind of felt like running out of nowhere, right? Like I just felt like running. And that's what he ends up doing for the next however many years. I think it was like 2.5 years, 2 to 5 years within that time frame. He just runs. And I find that so interesting because here is this guy with a 70 IQ, the lowest of IQs that you can get to. And the first thing he does is go for a run the moment he feels his heart is broken. Forrest Gump is so dumb, quote unquote. He's dumb that he's not able to process or really understand his emotions, that there are things that he just can't seem to comprehend. And so his initial instinct and his reaction is to run or to act instead of sit around and let things just happen to him. Instead, he goes back on his first instinct, which is action. Like that's his first initial instinct, just to take action. And that sticks with me. That sticks with me a lot because here is this guy, 70 IQ, has no idea what he's thinking about, has no idea what he's feeling, but the first thing he's going to do is go for a run. And I think there's a lot of truth in that, where sometimes we don't know what we're feeling, sometimes we don't know what we're processing, but instead we try to over intellectualize it. Sometimes we try to overthink it to the point where we think we solve it by thinking ahead of time, so that way we have thought about it so much that we're able to kind of leap over the little hurdles that come over to us because we thought about it so much, we're able to be prepared for it. But that's just making it worse for us. But instead, I like to think, what would Forrest do, right? What would Forrest Gump do? And Forrest Gump would get up and go for a run because, well, they don't really say it in the movie. They don't even hint at it. But Forrest Gump was just completely depressed. Like, if you really think about it, like, Forrest Gump goes on a run. He just got dumped by Jenny without him knowing. Like, he got abandoned. So the first initial instinct and reaction he has is to get up and just run for 2.5 years. Obviously, he goes when he needs to go. He ate when he needed to eat. But other than that, he always fucking ran. And yeah, that's when I think about a lot. Is that's their depiction of depression, which was, yeah, it's a depiction of depression by someone who doesn't know how to process their feelings, and the way he was able to not be so sad was him running, him trying to get his mind off of it, because that's the only way he knows how to process it, is by sheer work, sheer hustle, sheer grind, right? I don't know, that one sticks with me a lot too. That one really stuck with me. So what's the lesson in that? What is the lesson in that little breakdown of Forrest Gump? I think one thing is, this is just me talking to myself at this point, where I think we can over intellectualize a lot of our emotions and our processes and our thoughts. We'll try to understand where it's coming from. We'll try to figure out why it is the way that it is. We try and figure out why the triggers happen, or why we constantly feel like we're up and down. Is it something that's wrong with us? Is it something that's a compulsion based on how I was raised? Is this how I naturally feel? Is this how I'm supposed to feel? Not only that, but we start like expanding things. So if I were to feel shame, I would then feel anger at the fact that I was ashamed of myself. And the fact that I feel angry at my shame, I then start feeling upset that I felt angry at my shame. And then it becomes this whole thing where it's just expanded, right? So the thing that originally caused me disorder, or something that made me feel upset, then expanded into other things that made me feel other emotions. You know, my shame turned into anger, my anger turned into guilt, my guilt turned into sadness, but it all started by the fact that I was ashamed of myself. You know, it's this never ending sort of cycle. So my message is, instead of over intellectualizing, instead of trying to be smart, intelligent, or wise, just be fucking dumb and go for a run. That's the best way. And it's not even dumb, right? It's just simple. And usually we think that the fundamentals or the simple things don't hold as much weight for us specifically. But truth of the matter is, it does. Going out into a shiny, sunny, bright day when you're low, listening to uplifting music, drinking water, eating healthy foods, like, all of these are so fundamental to your health mentally and physically. But we assume that because they're hard, or we assume that they're boring, that they're not beneficial to us, when the only thing we want to get rid of in the moment is the way we feel. But yet we refuse to take ownership or take part in the things that actually fundamentally, naturally will keep us feeling good about ourselves. So my message to you is, stop over intellectualizing it. Stop making it harder than what it actually is. Chris Williamson says, trying to overthink a problem is like trying to sniff your way out of a cocaine addiction. And I couldn't agree more. We think that overthinking is a way for us to prepare ourselves for the inevitable doom. But 90% of the time, the issues, the problems, the thoughts that pertain to ourselves, the ones that we think are going to go wrong, 90% of the time, scientifically backed, it does not happen the way that you think it's going to happen. So if you worry or are anxious or think too much, just know that it's not going to happen the way that you anticipate it to happen. And the worrying and the anxiety that you cause to bring upon yourself is all for nothing. So instead of trying to over intellectualize it, instead of trying to deem yourself smart or trying to do what a wise person would do, just go for the very simple, basic routine, which is going for a run first thing in the morning, feeling confident and proud about yourself for doing something you didn't want to do, but you did anyway. It helps. It helps. And if you're so sour and depressed at the moment, well, put on some sad tunes and do it while you're in 60 minutes of a gym session. Listen to your sad music while you're on a run in nature. Listen to sad music when you're in the middle of a bench lifting set. It helps, man. It helps. And I know it can seem kind of, what is the word, trite? Like, lifting weights again, huh, George? Huh? Like, that's your secret, huh? Yeah, it fucking is. I always get the looks of, like, a demeaning sort of look every time I tell them, just lift weights, bro. But most individuals wouldn't understand why I say it, because the confidence, the pride, the self-respect that you have for yourself is like a super effective move from Pokemon that just takes out. Like, if you were against a Pokemon and this opponent, oh shit, I made a wrong turn. If you were up against a Pokemon, right, and the Pokemon is depression, right? If the Pokemon is depression, if you were to use lifting weights, the move, the attack, or going for a run, or journaling, those moves would be super effective on depression and would take it out like that. Okay? But yeah, be like Forrest Gump. Stop trying to over-intellectualize. Stop trying to be smarter. Just be simple. Be dumb. Because it's actually not a problem to be dumb. It's actually a very good trait to have.